more companies and more people should be getting more value from data and implementing automation based on that. But they're actually being challenged, and a lot of it's down to how they actually interpret or understand how complex or easy it is to apply. So on to the objectives about this. My name's Joe Keating. I work for a company called Glantus. I'm Chief Data Officer at Glantus, and my life is all about driving value for our customers with a software platform. I'm not here to talk about us or me. I'm here to talk about data and how you can get value from it. So the concept of this whole presentation is all about real-life examples of the benefits that come with using the data that exists in and around your business. So anyone here that's in any sort of organization, there's data there. These days, every company has data, whether they're managing through IT systems or Excel or paper-based, you have data. So how do you optimize that and how do you get true value from it? If your business is experiencing pain points in terms of manual effort in collating data or spending huge amounts of time and effort and having to bring more people into the business to understand, interpret data, or just to get the data reported up to different levels of the organization, then you're missing a trick. And I can say categorically that your competitors aren't. So this isn't something that is, for the likes of Netflix or Amazon, these big organizations, Coca-Cola. Everyone's doing this now. And I don't think I can emphasize that enough. This isn't something new. I'm in this business 20-odd years. And back 20-odd years ago, some of the companies that are looking at doing things now are only on the start of their journey that people went on 20 years ago. So today I'm going to be talking more about current day and what's available to do and how you approach it. So one of the big things to understand in terms of data is that people say, oh yeah, data is a strategic asset. Not all of it is, for sure. Some of your information within the business is going to be valuable and it's driving your business. You may not have it contained or optimized or automated, but within the operational area of the business, it's driving performance. But how do you get more out of that? It's really important to understand that not all data has value. So some of the systems that you've got within the organization are probably containing X percentage of data that's not useful outside of that system. It's probably just helping people to use it, control permissions, all that sort of stuff. That's really of not much use. But it is really important to look at the objectives of the business in terms of strategic goals and say, okay, how can data help us with this? And to do that, you really need to involve people from the operations area because they're the ones that are being challenged in driving better performance in the business, whether it's in retail, supply chain, banking. It doesn't matter what industry you're in. Data is important to get a good performance and measure your performance and look at metrics, all that sort of stuff. But we're going way beyond that today. I'm talking about automation and data-driven business. But we start at this point. Talk to the people within the business so that there's not a big gap between the strategic goals of the organization and the guys that are on the ground doing the work, because they know what data is important for them to perform or their teams to perform, and ultimately that rolls up into the business performance. So that's crucial. Don't eliminate the guys that are at the lower level. It's all well and good. I'm on the board at Glantus, but if we just looked at what we're trying to do as a strategic piece in terms of growth and didn't look at what's happening on the ground, are we actually going to onboard customers in a specific industry? We can't just go and say, oh, we're going to be the biggest company in retail for data and analytics. We need to talk to the guys who are delivering our products, who are selling it. Are we actually getting uptake? Are we offering something unique? And then you look at, if we're not, how do we? And it's all driven by that. So keep that in mind. I've got a couple of really simple examples. You may look at these and go, they're very generic, and they are, but I don't know who's in the audience, so I hope you appreciate that there's probably people here from different industries. So I've got 1,000,001 use cases of where you can apply this. I'm going to pick two. So the first one is customer churn. Most businesses have actual customers, or you could say all businesses. So in terms of organizations that are looking to reduce the number of customers falling off from using their products or their services, how do they identify it and how do they mitigate the risk? Well, the first question is, can data provide value? And the answer is categorically yes, it can provide value, because no doubt you've got an understanding within the business somewhere of which type of customer is leaving, when are they leaving, and what sort of activities led up to them leaving. So whether you're capturing that just in terms of the people that are maybe getting the phone call or email from the customer, it's your use of that that's important. Are you just capturing it and letting it sit in emails that nobody's collating and getting an understanding or a viewpoint of what's happening? Or are you actually collecting that information so that you can use it and actually address the problems that customers have that are, causing them to leave? I switch provider for TV and broadband all the time, mainly because a new offer comes into the market. But if I was to call my provider that I'm currently with and say, look, I'm going to leave, they should have an awareness there's a new offer in the market and be able to mitigate that and say, who are you going to? And I'm okay, I'd be transparent enough to say, look, I'm going with this crowd, they have a good offer. They should know. And they should be able to say, well, actually, we understand that, but you know what, we're going a step further and we're going to give you €10 a month less than that because we want you to stay as a customer of ours. Why wouldn't I go with that? And I hope everyone here would as well. You're not going to, money is money. €10 to me is €10 in my pocket. So that's the approach that I'm talking about here. It's not rocket science. It's about capturing information and using it effectively. And if you can automate that, all the better. And I bet you can. So in terms of how the value is realized in this customer churn piece, can it be used? What can it be used for? It can be used for those advisors. So I called up whoever it is, whether it's Virgin Media or Sky or whatever, and say I want to switch. They have the information in front of them in real time about what my history is. I've been a loyal customer. I have switched a couple of times back and forth, but came back because of other offers. They can be very proactive in the conversation and say, Joe, yeah, I've seen you've gone before. I understand what drives your decision to leave and stay, and I'm going to help you out by giving you a better offer than the one that's out there in the market. Simple. If somebody was to automate that and send it to me out a month before, or actually on the point where another offer came into the market, I'd be delighted to say, great, they want me to sign up for another 12 months or 24 months, and it's the best offer in the market by €10 a month. That's where we're getting to with data in terms of analysing it, understanding the customer's background and how they behave and what drives them. It's simple. You just have to capture the data, understand it, and if you can build in automation, all the better, and you can. As I said, automation's a big part of this. The alerts based on market activity, so that should be the thing that's driving your strategic decisions. There's a new entry to the market, they're looking at bringing in a new product, we need to match it or better it. I'm going to take nods as a yes that people understand that piece. Does that make sense? It's a simple idea, it's a simple example of how this works in terms of your data. Second example is in relation to increase in revenue. Everyone in business is always trying to increase revenue. It's a bit of a broad topic. You can do it in lots of different ways. Again, I'm touching on this because whoever is watching this or in the room, this should resonate with you. You have customers, great, reduce the churn, and if you're looking to grow as an organization, you'll be looking to increase revenue. So how do you do it? First of all, again, ask the question, can data provide value to actually drive this ambition? So I've got a good example here, actually, that has really impacted a number of businesses that I've been involved in the past in helping them increase revenue, all around customs, actually, and VAT. So you may or may not be aware, if you're selling products, bringing raw materials in from a non-EU country and sending it out to a non-EU country, then you qualify for zero VAT transactions. That's a great savings, but how do you prove that your transactions are actually in that they go through that journey? Unless you have the data, it's not easy. But why can't you just automate the information being collected at each stage and actually have that made available when an order comes in, or make it available in a centralized portal that anyone can go in and look at? Be transparent about these things, especially with the revenue commissioners and whoever else is looking at auditing your business. It's a very simple mechanism. Can the value be realized? Absolutely. In this case, this has had major impact in a number of businesses I've worked with, probably 40 to 50% reduction in VAT-related charges for this type of transaction, which they weren't able to track initially. So it's not rocket science, very simple. They just weren't collecting the data and watching the transaction, the journey of that all the way through. So they didn't have the proof that this was a zero VAT transaction. So all it's really based on is an auditable trail of the transaction from beginning to end. You can automate the archival of the transaction audit trail. It doesn't have to be in everyone's face. It's on demand. So when there's an audit you present that information to whoever needs to see it. So it's efficient analysis of the information by third parties, i.e. the auditors. Very simple example again. I could talk about 100 examples, whether it's retail, automating your pricing by monitoring the price of SKU level products in your competitors, by taking information from different sources, looking at events that are on the area and setting your price automatically based on those type of things, where your stores are. We do that for customers as an organization, but there's lots of businesses out there doing this and providing a service like this. But my whole point today is that this stuff exists. If you're not aware of it, then please take note. Your competitors are probably either applying it or should be, but they're a step ahead if they're doing it and you're not. If you've got people driving this sort of stuff, then you're a little bit behind. So look at technology. It's not expensive. I really mean that, whether it's whatever software package or how you implement this stuff, it's not that expensive. It's not rocket science, and the return on investment is massive in this area. What are the barriers to value? So talking about getting data to value, there are some approaches that won't work. So I really want to call them out today. I'm trying to add value here by saying, look, I'm not selling what I do or what we do. I'm selling the idea of doing this right. If you're going to get the gains, then you need to have the right approach. Don't just get a tool to visualize and interact with data, because it's not going to give any insights if you don't know what you're looking for, or you've not got your data collected in a proper way where you can get a view of it that makes sense. So if you're just going to throw a visualization tool of some sort at a whole load of operational systems in your business, you're not going to succeed. You need to collect the data, identify the data that's important for driving your business, and then start analysing it. Then start doing predictive models on the information. Then you'll get value. The IT-centric approach, my background is driving data enablement and analytics for multinational organisations, and the number of times I've gotten into this situation where you're bringing a change into the business and IT are the first people that you're speaking to. That doesn't make any sense. This is a business solution. This is to drive the business performance. It's not, an infrastructure project. So the business should be at the forefront of this. The IT guys are there maybe to, facilitate and make sure that you're using the right stuff and you've got your data protected and all that sort of stuff. But ultimately, the business are the people who should be, directing what needs to be done to make the business perform better. How would the IT guys know? They don't, and that's not disrespectful. I work in IT per se, and I'm saying, yeah, absolutely. In the past, I was in the background. I wasn't aware of the strategic goals of the organisation per se. So how was I the one that was ended up driving everything? So it took me a while to actually, in a lot of big organisations, to break through that and go to the business first, and they drive things. IT come in at a later stage, only when they're needed. And that's the approach that works. And I hope you can see why. IT, as I said, they facilitate things sometimes, but data is ultimately a business asset, and it should be treated as such. So what does that change look like in terms of you're going from, either an IT-centric environment where IT drive and pull the strings in terms of the data access and all that sort of stuff, or you're looking at, business guys get a tool, could be Excel, whatever it is, and start aiming at that data. You're not going to be successful with either of those approaches. So there's a couple of key things. Remove the barriers. So this is what I've seen this a million times. Organizations that have gatekeepers to the data, and they're letting some of the data through to the business and so on, but not when they need it, not how they need it, and it's not self-service. It's not meeting the goals of the business because it's not resulting in success and growth and hiring, revenue, and all the different things that we talk about as business people. So it's really a case of transitioning the mindset into a data's a byproduct of the operational systems in the business. It's not. It is something that can drive your performance of the business. If you put in automation around it, you're getting there. So look at those type of things. I talked about this last year during my talk. There's 4 distinct steps to actually achieving this. It's very simple. Data made simple is our strapline as an organization. That's my ethos, really. It is simple. Just acquire it. Get it from wherever it is. Identify what's the important data that can drive and help your business perform better. Analyze the information. Now, you can do this automatically. You can apply algorithms to the data, which sounds really lofty, and data science and all that sort of stuff. It's not. It can be either validation or rules or workflow. It doesn't really matter. That's just a term. You basically analyze that information in order to get either predictions from it or some sort of insight output of it so that you can automate an action to happen. So as I talked about earlier on, the price changes in a retail environment for an organization, set my prices to be as good as low as the competitor. So I always know that I can say, we have the lowest prices in the industry. That's very easy. Just get all the information about those products from different sources about the competitor products, and you can basically set your own prices. You'd want to take into account, your store locations, your audience, who's going to be in the store, footfall. There's lots of different environmental factors you can bring into that as well. It's all quite straightforward. So you set the optimum price for your business, and that can be all automated. You need to trust this as well, and there's a bit of that. So are you going to automate your whole pricing strategy on day one? Probably not. You're probably going to let it go to approval for somebody within the different sectors or different departments over time. These things, machine learning and all that sort of stuff, brings in a fair bit of intelligence around when you say, no, don't change that price. It understands that and won't go down that road again. So these things learn as well, which is great. And that wasn't there 20 years ago. So it is moving towards that type of model. And then automation's a huge factor in this. Take the people element out of it, reduce the effort. This is an example of some of the stuff that we produce for customers. So a very simple example of automation based on data and capturing data in real time so that you guys can see how easy it actually is. And basically all that's happening here is that there's a piece of software that's monitoring Twitter all the time. And it's our software, and it's monitoring a particular phrase, iPhone 1024. When that's picked up, there's a dashboard that gets presented. Sorry, not presented, but it gets updated in real time based on any tweets about this. So, very simple example. But in addition to that, there's also a couple of people who are notified about the fact that somebody's mentioned this. Now, I'm not talking about, use social media, use this. It doesn't matter what this is. I could have easily brought up our payroll system or a CRM system. Our customer has said they're not going to close on that deal. That's a notification maybe for somebody. Automate something off the back of that. I'm not being prescriptive here about what data you source and all that sort of stuff. Twitter is something everyone knows. I'm using that as a very base case example. I hope that people have understood what I mean in terms of turning data into value. I'm happy enough to spend a couple of minutes if anyone, and I know this is, is anyone going to ask questions? I don't know, but I'm happy to answer them if they want to. The question is, are the dashboard widgets movable and flexible and stuff? Yeah, absolutely is the answer. They're interactive and all that, but that's the easiest bit of data, the visualization. You can use any tool on top. This is the Glantus tool. It doesn't matter. It could be Excel, it could be, Tableau, Click, any of those tools. It's not about the visualization of the data, that's just something. But the fact that somebody's got a notification in their email or their WhatsApp or a text message is a notification in real time that somebody's mentioned it. It gives them a sentiment analysis, and that's the example that actually we're looking to drive an action off the back of something that's occurred within a data set somewhere. So that's a really good question in terms of it highlights the fact that the visualization piece is the easiest bit of all. Don't start at the visualization. Start at the data that's important to the business and how you can look at automating data-driven actions out of that. Visualization is important, but it's not the key piece. Yeah, so there's hundreds of connection types that the Glantus platform connects into. But again, there's lots of systems out there. This is one where it's all in one. It's a self-service portal, and it's aimed at the business. If you have people in your business doing ETL or coding or data integration, stop. And I really mean that. You're wasting money. You're wasting time. Tools out there to do that stuff. You don't need people to do it. And I'm sorry if there's ETL developers in the room or coders for SQL and that sort of stuff. Things have moved on a little bit. If you're not looking at that, those guys are still important in your business. Move them up a level in terms of their contribution to the organization. That stuff, the mundane coding and repetitive type data analysis and integration piece can now be done with self-service. So transition that. Get those people adding more value in terms of, automation based on data and stuff. Don't have people coding, I need this data to go from A to B. it's already covered. There's tools out there to do it. Really start looking at that. So I'm getting told I'm out of time. But go to our Twitter or our LinkedIn page. I really appreciate everyone's listening today, and I hope you've got something out of that presentation. So thanks very much, and see you again.